Hi, everybody. Just waiting for Shauna to join us. I'm Karen from the Divorce Workshop, and we host a lot of great professionals on here to get all the information of going through divorce. Oh, hi.
Hello, how's it going?
It's like my favorite divorce coach.
Well, thank you. I'll take it
Yeah.
as a compliment.
Oh, good to see you. This is I even wrote a list today on all the things that we feel when we go through divorce and we feel like we failed.
Yes.
I don't know if that's common you see in clients. It is for me, as well as myself.
Yeah. I think that it's natural to feel like a failure, whether you are the instigator or the recipient of the divorce.
Mhm.
I think it's the end of a dream. It's everything you feel like your house, your kids, your marriage, everything is kind of falling apart, right? And so it's hard not to feel like a failure when your life doesn't go the way that you had envisioned. But I would love to hear what you wrote down.
So here's some, uh, more so with women. Okay, we are tended to are expected to kind of hold that family unit together. So,
Mhm.
so I think we have that. It's kind of ingrained in us, I think, right? Like, have you ever heard the expression of like kind of the salt of the family so it's kind of like we kind of why we didn't make it work.
I
I don't
was
know.
just thinking that we're told, make it work. Why didn't you make it work, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to tell you my story about my mom, who divorced in the early 70s, just when I was born. And she tried really hard, but even her own family, my family, they blamed her, even
Mm-hmm.
though my dad had multiple affairs, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know we've come a long way from there, but even for myself, when I was going through my own, I called up my older sister and I said, "Are you going to be embarrassed of me if I get a divorce?" And I was thinking,
Yeah.
right? Like,
You find yourself apologizing to everybody, like, I'm sorry, and it's like, for what? Most of us try our hardest. And I don't know if you saw something I had posted the other day, especially for women, we kind of exhaust all options before divorce, and we plan for a long time. And in that time frame, we're almost, some of us, waiting to see, is something going to happen that's going to make me change my mind, right? Because
mm-hmm.
this is the last thing that I want to do. And so I want to, especially for listeners, make them aware that you're not failing. It's not a failure. And it's natural to feel that way, though, as we can see.
Yeah, and I had a it's interesting how people approach it, because for me, I didn't want to tell anybody right away, right? Because was like, I was like, okay, I don't want to tell anybody. But I've had other people where they'll tell everybody right away. So I also want to tell everybody is how we feel is all unique, and how we deal with it is all unique, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it in terms of those who have experienced a pregnancy, sometimes people announce it as soon as they take the
Mm-hmm.
test. And then other people find it more comfortable to wait until the first doctor's appointment or the first trimester or the gender reveal. I mean, there's all different, and nothing's right or wrong. None of those are right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really just up, like you said, to your comfort level of when you're ready to share your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my points I put down is, when we say our vows, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then, that's another thing that came up quite a bit. You kind of feel like I didn't, I didn't maintain, I didn't keep to the vows that we said to each other. But I think when you really reflect back on your whole marriage, that's another thing is when you think you're failing in marriage, like your marriage failed, you can look back and think of all the things you did try to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, absolutely. And I find it probably more, I'll go out on a limb and say maybe more difficult for those who have more of like a strict religious background, because you
Mm-hmm.
have that pressure of how you were raised, the church, you know, whatever you, or whatever your religion is and whatever
Mhm.
their thoughts are. And so you, like, I was raised Catholic, so, you
Mhm.
know, we have the Catholic guilt, and
Mhm.
it's like divorce
Mhm.
isn't, you know, really an
Right.
option. And it's not, you know, it's frowned upon. And like you said, we've come a long way, thank gosh, in terms of, you know, what's accepted or not. But that can put a really big toll on people. And like you said, with their family, if, you know, their family is still very strict, you know, Catholic, let's say,
Right.
and they're not supportive of your divorce, then you're missing out on a whole support system as well.
And you
So
know
I
me,
agree.
I support going through any major stress event, especially divorce, is essential. So it makes it even harder if your family isn't supporting you.
Oh, 100%. And so if there are listeners out there who don't feel like they have a support system, I certainly encourage them to reach out outside of their
Hmm.
circle. If, you know, friends and family aren't being supportive, find a support group, find a divorce coach, find a grief counselor, you
Hmm.
know, whatever you have available, another mom, if you're a mom. You know, it's imperative to find somebody to talk to.
Yeah, it we didn't when I got mine like 6, 7 years ago, I didn't even like it didn't even cross my mind that we needed a lot of support.
Me
Especially
either.
as most, right? Especially as most divorces, Shauna, are moderately conflict, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we do need the extra support that I didn't know that back then I needed it, but obviously you and I now post know how vital it is, right?
Well, talk about grieving. I like grieve for myself that I didn't know all of the resources available, because what most people know, and I don't know about you, but like for me, it was like you go find a lawyer,
Mhm.
you do the paperwork, and the rest is up to you to figure out. I didn't know all of, and I did, I mean, I did have a support group that I went to, so I will say that, but I didn't know about divorce coaches. I didn't know about financial neutrals. I didn't know about, you know, mediation and all of the things, and,
Yeah.
you know, workbooks and workshops. And so I do feel like I kind of missed out on some great information that probably could have helped me save a lot of heartache along the way.
Yeah, and I think that's why you and I are both in the field now, right? Because I often say I felt like a fish out of water. I had,
Hmm.
I had no idea. I made mistakes because I didn't know any better. And
Hmm.
I'm from a divorced family. That didn't really matter when you're going through your own divorce,
Right.
right? It's a bit
Yes.
different, but
Yeah.
so I
Especially
wrote,
when they've gotten divorced like 30 years ago
yeah.
and they think it's the same, and it changes all the time. So yeah, and I think part of that, you know, agree or disagree, is, you know, some of the shame that goes with it. You're not
Mhm.
out there blasting it to the universe and seeking out all of these people for help. You're kind of just digging your hole and sticking your head in it and hoping that it goes away. But there is help out there. You're not failing. And I think women, especially, can really thrive
Mhm.
post divorce. And so finding the right support system is essential.
Yeah, we can talk about that another topic, right? Like how to thrive after.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just finished Unit 6, which is recovery, and there's so many great little things that people can do. But that's another topic. But it's really a vital one, right? Because I have seen, and I'm sure you've seen clients that are stuck
Hmm.
years later, and it's a lot of grief, like it's sadness still, right? But they have not been able to move forward. So, anyway, so I have one more other thing is another reason why I didn't want to get divorced is I didn't want my children to go through what I had gone through as a child of divorce.
Hmm.
I don't know if you can relate to that or.
Oh my gosh, 100%. You know, like you said, your parents divorced when you were a baby. My parents divorced when I was 5, and made so many mistakes along the way. And I vowed I will never
Mhm.
be, that'll never be me, right? We think we know it all when we're kids. And then, you know, here we are, life happens. And just like everything else, I'm sure we've made our own mistakes along the way, but we could use our parents as some sort of guide to either say, oh, I like how they did this, or I'm not going to do it that way because I know the effect. So I think it gives us a unique experience, looking at other divorces, especially as children of divorce.
Mhm.
But yes, for our own divorce, of course, you feel you failed them in
Mhm.
that department.
Yeah, I had to work a lot on that one, to be honest. And I think it's actually research that people that have gone through it, have divorced them, like their parents, they try even harder to try to make the marriage work. And I think I stayed way too long in mine because of that. Many components, right? But the
Hmm.
children was one of the big things because I was like, I don't want them to go through what I did. However, I wanted to bring up like some of the tips that I thought that we could talk about. So one
Sure.
of them was we'd already talked about it was support, like
Hmm.
how vital that is. And another topic we can talk about another time is shifting friendships and family. That's a whole, we can talk about that our next live, right? Because that
Yeah.
it happens. It happens in the grief world. It happens in divorce world. But we know support's essential. It's where to get it, right? Um,
Yes.
one of the things that I wanted to talk about was self-compassion.
Hmm.
It's huge, right? Because we need to have to when you're starting to beat yourself up about how I'm so bad, you have to have self-compassion to say I'm human, treat myself well, talk to you would you like you would your best friend and stuff. So I
Hmm.
have had to use that a lot for myself and for clients as well in both divorce and death loss because you really have to be self-compassionate passionate with yourself.
I think that's huge. And you took the words right out of my mouth. I always say, what would you say to your best friend
Mm-hmm.
who is experiencing this? Would you say she's a failure? Would you say she needs to just get over it? No, we don't talk to our friends that way. So why, we spend the most time with ourselves more than anybody else. So let's, work on a positive mindset. And I think just being gracious, like you said, I remember one time I always prided myself on taking the high road, never not reacting. And of course, we're human, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And one time I just lost it in a situation and then beat myself up afterwards for my reaction because I was so mad at myself. And my therapist at the time said, you had a human reaction to a
Mm-hmm.
human situation. And I really had to tell myself that because we can't be perfect all the time, and it's just not fair to put that pressure on ourselves when we wouldn't put it on our kids, our
Yeah.
friends, our
Yeah.
family.
So that's again practice. And another thing is isn't there's so many topics in divorce we can talk about, but
I know.
if you happen to do that in front of your children, what you can do is repair with them, right? Is what you
Oh
say is,
yeah.
guys, mom made a mistake. I'm human. And I'm sorry that happened, and I'm going to try my best for not to happen again. But
Yeah.
you're right. We are human beings. We make mistakes, and we're flawed. And especially when you're going through divorce, which is so already stressful as it is. So,
Oh,
another,
100%.
yeah, I had, well, that we kind of talked about that, but reframing, right? So when you're thinking, example was I thought about, oh, my children, they're going to be from a divorced family and they're going to get bad grades and they're going to be,
Psychopaths.
well, that's,
I
oh,
think
yeah,
I'm like, is
they're,
he going to be a serial
yeah,
killer because of this? Yeah.
right. You get in that loop. Well, to reframe that and say, research says that most children really do quite well, right? Depending how you co-parent, right? If you're
Hmm.
a good, if you're the, even if you're the most stable parent out of the two, you still, research says it's still, kids still have a really good chance of just being normal kids, right? Um, so that's another thing is just try to reframe your thoughts, not to always thinking the worst thing ever, right? Like,
Yeah. And another gem that my therapist had given me, it was because I felt that, I felt like we're failing the kids, they're going to turn
mm-hmm,
out horrible. And she said the kids only need one stable parent to turn out okay, right? And so, if you have two stable parents, even better. But as long as you are showing up every day, being the best parent that you can, setting the good example, repairing when you've had a moment, the kids will be
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And proof's in the pudding. My girls are both at university doing well. How are your kids doing?
Yeah, they're great. My son, we put him in, I don't know about your girls, but we put him in therapy for a
Yep.
while just to make sure he
Mm-hmm.
was processing with somebody else
Mm-hmm.
besides mom and dad.
Yep.
And he is such a happy-go-lucky little kid. We all have our moments. He has his
Mm-hmm.
moments, but he's doing great.
Yeah. Yeah, of course we all have moments. They have moments too. But yeah, our kids are doing pretty good, right? So
Yep.
that's another thing. And
Yeah.
then last, of course,
And
like
us, we are
yeah,
part of the divorce and we're great.
yeah, great, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because we've been practicing what now we've been practicing, making sure. Because even for me, I have moments where I still get angry or stuff about certain
Yeah,
things,
of
and we
course.
can talk about that another time, like post divorce abuse stuff that goes on still.
Hmm.
But yeah, anyways, the last one I thought about is a lot of self-care. It's out there like everything, but it's like that airplane thing. If you don't put the mask on
Yes.
first, then and self-care can be different for everybody.
Hmm.
For me, you can go to the gym or you can go for a good walk,
Yeah.
meet a friend for coffee or something. I don't know if you have
Good
any.
walk. Absolutely. I just took my walk. It's finally sunny and warm, so I had to go outside, get my vitamin D, but coffee with a friend,
Mhm,
journaling. I'm not even a journaler, but sometimes you just have to get those thoughts down
mhm,
on paper. Or as we talked about earlier, coming from a place of gratitude, doing like a gratitude journal and just writing a couple things that we're always happy that our kids are healthy. So like keeping some of the big things in mind and not getting stuck in the nitty gritty of what's going on.
yeah, definitely taking some moments to yourself to focus on you and what you need at the moment. I do that with grievers all the time. And even with divorced ones, it's like, are you looking after yourself at all? And they're like, I have to remind them all the
Yeah.
time, right? Because
Yeah, especially as moms, we don't, like you said, we don't stop to put our own mask on. And so it's hard to, I'm not saying it's not easy to like find the time to do it, but if you don't find the time to do it,
yeah,
it's gonna implode
try,
eventually.
try to
So
squeak out the time,
even
even if it's kids are,
5 minutes.
yeah, meditate for 5 minutes, do some deep breathing. Like I love the breathing techniques that helps the parasympathetic nervous system calm down a bit. We can talk about that another subject, but like,
We just have
yeah,
this rolling list of things that we can talk
there's
about.
so many things. So when I wrote you that
Yes.
list, I'm like, I think I wrote like five or six. I was like, I could just keep going, right? But yeah, so this was a
I love it
great,
though.
yeah. Does anyone have any questions for us about feelings of failure and divorce? If you don't or do, you can DM either Shauna Warden or Karen or divorceworkshop.ca that's your Instagram tag too, right?
Shauna Warden, divorce coach.
Shauna Warden Divorce, and it's divorceworkshop.ca. So otherwise, we'll wrap this one up. If and we'll be back another time to talk about all the other topics we didn't talk about but brought up today.
Yeah. Yeah. So good to see you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
good to see you, Shauna. And anything else? Anything you have coming up you want to talk about before we go?
Well, I do have a weekly blog that talks about a lot of these different things that
Mm,
we bring up. And I know you have your blog too. So if they want any more
yeah,
resources, certainly check out shaunawardencoaching.com or your website, which is
divorceworkshop.ca.
perfect.
Our book will be coming out soon. I'm super excited. Oh, Shauna, it's like 2 years of work, but we're super excited. So, and yeah, so it's all good. So we'll talk to you soon and take care,
All
everybody.
right.
Bye.
Awesome. Bye.